I remember when I was a kid, what was I? 11 when this movie came out. And I had seen Wizard of Oz on TV all those times on CBS, and I was like, why? And my 11-year-old brain was thinking the same thing most of the rest of the world was thinking. Why are they making a sequel to The Wizard of Oz all these decades later? Why doesn't it look the same? Why is Dorothy younger? Why does the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion look all... like no one... The original 39 film hung over Return to Oz like a ghost, just like a nasty specter. And there was just... The world was not willing at all to accept any other Oz at that time. But I think in decades after that, we got over that. And we started to see Return to Oz for what it is. Which is awesome! But I think I'm the only one who's seen it. Am I right?
I watched it once in school a very long time ago.
Yeah,
so you don't remember it.
I'm sure I probably have seen it. I
remember these statues for sure.
Exactly. I recognize like these scenes from it, but I don't remember anything about it.
Well, I just watched it again, and this is one I watch every couple of years, actually, because every time I see it, I like it more. But I do remember when it first came out, just being very dismissive of it. And then I think when it first came out on DVD in the late 90s or early 2000s, I watched it again. And I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. Like, if you watch it on its own terms, as a completely separate movie, disconnected, you can really enjoy it. I will say it's based on the second and third books in the series. It's based on The Wonderful Land of Oz and Ozma of Oz. It's kind of a hybrid of those two books. So it kind of is a direct sequel in some ways, but it's also its own thing. And it's basically about after she comes back to Oz, and she's age appropriate to the book. She's 9 years old. The actor Fairuza Balk was only 9 when she shot this movie. She's having trouble psychologically. She can't sleep at night. She's haunted by things. And Auntie Ammon and her uncle decide to take her to a experimental doctor who basically is going to give her electroshock therapy. Like, they have her in a gurney, and they've got the electrodes on her head, and they are about to pull the switch when the lightning storm comes and knocks the power out, and this mysterious little girl comes and unties her from the gurney, and they run away from this building together, and it's storming, it's raining, they get swept away in a river, and Dorothy wakes up in the land of Oz again. The other little girl apparently drowned or something. We don't know what happened to her that night. And she's with her chicken Bellina, who you see in the poster right there. So Dorothy and Bellina, all worried about what's going on in Oz, because the Yellow Brick Road, when they find it, is all tore up. They get to Oz and they find it like desolate. No one's alive. Everyone's been turned into statues. And come to find out, the Scarecrow sent a key to Dorothy in Kansas that came like a shooting star. She saw the star fall, and she found the key as well. And the key gets her into a room where she meets the Royal Army of Oz, which is one robot named Tick-Tock. And Tick-Tock explains to her what all's gone on. There's the Gnome King feels like he was wronged because all the emeralds in the Emerald City are actually his. And because all the rubies and emeralds and precious stones in the land all come from the mountain where he's the king. And he wanted it all back. And he got it all back and put Princess Mombi, a very bad princess, in charge of the Emerald City. So Mombi's in the Emerald City with her wheelers. Her minions are these guys, you see one there, who have wheels for hands and feet. And that's all that's in the Emerald City. And the Gnome King's away across the Deadly Desert in a mountain. And he's got the ruby slippers, because when Dorothy got sucked back to Oz at the end of the first movie, apparently the ruby slippers fell off her feet or some shit. I don't know. Gnome King's got him now. So Dorothy basically has to beat Mombi, who captures her, puts her up in a tower. Dorothy meets Pumpkinhead, Jack Pumpkinhead right here, an inanimate object brought to life with Mombi's powder of life. Dorothy sneaks around and finds Mombi's powder of life, and also brings to life this Gump creature that you see on screen right now. It's like a reindeer head attached to a sofa and stuff. And along with TikTok, they all escape on the Gump, fly off the tower, and go across the deadly desert to the Gnome King, because they want to bring back to life everyone in the Emerald City. And so the last like half hour to 40 minutes of the movie is this final confrontation with the Gnome King, who makes them play a deadly game where they guess, in this big room full of ornaments, which of the ornaments are actually people. Like the Scarecrow is an ornament in this room. And if they can guess which ornaments are the real people and touch the ornament and say Oz, that person will come back to life. But there are hundreds and hundreds of ornaments in the room. And so all of the characters take their turn in there, and they all fail, and they become ornaments. And it turns out Bellina lays an egg in Jack Pumpkin's head, and I can't tell what's going on. There it is. The egg ends up being something that bests the Gnome King at the end because he's allergic to eggs. Gnomes are apparently deadly allergic to eggs. So a little bit of, I don't know, what do you call it? Luck, Deus Ex Machina in the story writing saves the day. The story might sound a little muddled. I probably didn't do this movie justice in the synopsis. I love it because it's dark and it's exquisite in its aesthetics. I love the sets. I love the way these characters look on screen right now. I love that the Tin Man's a marionette. I love that Jack Pumpkinhead is a marionette most of the time. Occasionally he's a guy in a suit. You don't see the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, or the Cowardly Lion much. They put them on the poster, and I think that's another reason people were pissed with this movie, is because they wanted to see the characters they knew from the 39 film. They have very, very little screen time, and I don't think two of them don't even speak. So the fact that it's about a little girl traumatized psychologically and being paralyzed, being threatened with electroshock therapy, that's a real threat to try and get away from. Not to mention the fact that her aunt and uncle thought this would be good for her. So not only is she scared of the doctors at the place, like I would be scared of the people who sent me there as well. That's not something the film really deals with, but for me it's there. Nicol Williamson plays the doctor. He also plays Merlin in Excalibur. And Jean Marsh, who plays Queen Bavmorda in Willow a few years later, is the nurse in these early scenes. They both end up playing Princess Mombi and the Gnome King in The Land of Oz, just like people play dual parts in the original 39 film. And then the scene that everyone remembers when they're talking about how scary and dark and creepy and disturbing this movie is when Dorothy is in the middle of the night while Princess Mombi's asleep, snooping around her hall of heads, because Mombi has like 30 young women's heads in glass cases. And she like wears heads like she wears costumes. All these heads are sleeping. All these heads are asleep. Mombi's sleeping without a head in her bed nearby. And she finds the powder of life in the cabinet with Mombi's original head, which is Jean Marsh's head. But when she reaches for it, she knocks something over, and Jean Marsh's head opens up and goes, "Dorothy Gale." And then all the other severed heads, you see them right there, start waking up and all start screaming at her. So Dorothy's like running down this hall of heads that are all screaming at her. And then when she gets out of that hall, she sees the bed, and Mombi like sits up headless in it. And it's just terrifying. It's one of the more terrifying things you could imagine in a children's film. And I watched Siskel and Ebert's review of this film, and they agreed with a lot of the critics, saying this movie is way too scary for children. The critics came down hard on this movie, kind of like they might have some of the other versions of Oz for being too dark for children. It really kind of pushed the limits. But it's for someone who loves making movies and appreciates all of the work that goes into it. When you think about the fact Fairuza Balk was 9, so Walter Murch, the director, was directing a 9-year-old. A talented 9-year-old for sure, but still 9. And her co-stars throughout most of the film are a chicken, which is either a real chicken half the time or an animatronic. and a pumpkin head man who is a marionette puppet or sometimes a man in a costume, and a robot named TikTok who in reality was a man upside down in the suit. So the performer's arms were the robot's feet. And the Cowardly Lion's a man in a suit. He collapsed during the making of the movie because of all the heat from the lights while Dorothy was riding him. There are no human actors. Like, there's no simple performance to get. Like, every scene involved, your best, easiest thing to work with was a 9-year-old human. And everyone else was like a puppet or an animatronic or an animal or something. And they're all in scenes together. Like, this is an ensemble adventure. So when I try to imagine what it must have been like to try and direct a 9-year-old and all these inanimate objects, I just like, wow, that had to have taken forever. It must have been mind-numbingly tedious and hard. And the fact that the movie looks as beautiful as it does and sounds as beautiful as it does because David Shire gives his best score. I watched an interview with him. He agrees it's his best score. It's one of his favorites anyway. Love the score. Love the look. Love the characters. Fairuza Balk is a really good child actor. This movie works for me. It's dark and surprising, and I really dig it. I don't know if I've done it justice for anyone who's never seen it before, but I highly recommend giving Return to Oz a shot if you've never seen it. If you think it's just a silly family movie, you're wrong. You're very wrong. It's dark. If you like horror movies, you might like Return to Oz. Check it out, man. Check it out. I give it a pretty high score. I give it an 8.
Wow.
Wow.
I just, because I love rewatching it. Rewatching it every couple of years is always a thrill because it's just beautiful. I guess there are these halls, these sets with all the mirrors and the gold. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff too, I think. And I love chickens. And I love pumpkins. So in a way, they made this movie just for me, I guess. I don't know. I just really dig the shit out of it. It's the only movie I think Walter Murch ever directed. Walter Murch is the Academy Award-winning film editor who worked on stuff like Apocalypse Now, both Godfathers 1 and 2, THX 1138, and American Graffiti. He's done other stuff since then, but those were his like real classics. And he was fired shortly into production because it fell behind schedule. And Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas actually went to Disney and got his job back for them. And George Lucas had to promise that if they fell behind schedule again, that he would direct the rest of the movie.
Wow.
And he took that deal. So Walter Murch did come back and he did finish the movie. George Lucas did not have to direct the movie, but I thought it was interesting that Murch and Coppola went to bat for him. And they probably should have because he did contribute mightily to their classic films. It did get a nomination for Best Visual Effects at the Oscars. The ruby slippers are in this book, and that was an invention by MGM. The ruby slippers are not in the original Baum books. So they had to pay a fee to MGM. I don't know how much to get the ruby slippers. But Walter Murch thought if all of a sudden the slippers were silver like they're in the book, the world just wouldn't accept it. So that was the one thing that they had to take from the MGM film. And the voice of Jack Pumpkinhead, who you see up there in the top, was Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son, who I think also helped puppeteer him. So please check out Return to Oz. I really
definitely
can't.
have to revisit this one. I remember seeing it when I was young, just coming away from it feeling like it was just a unnecessary sequel, or it just felt disjointed from what I had come to expect from the 39 film. But yeah,
From the what film?
The 39 film. Yeah, and but everything you're describing, that absolutely sounds like I need to give it another chance.
I mean, it's maybe a little disjointed, but I also feel like I'm not the only one that, like, it seems like over the last like 20 to 30 years, this movie's been growing and growing and growing, and people talk about it more and more and more. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there about people going, "Can you believe how dark and disturbing this movie is?" And it's like, yep, it is. That's Return to Oz. It's kind of cool.